I feel like this is a bit of a weird thing to say, but changes in ideal body shape are a little bit like changes in fashion. They change from one year to the next, and eventually the same trends come back around, even though sometimes we wonder why on earth they do. A vision of the perfect body shape has been around for centuries, but it's clear to see how those ideals have changed over the last 100 or so years. Right back in the 1910s, women seemed to strive for the classic hourglass figure with a tiny cinched-in waist. But then in the 20s came the flapper era, where slim was in and women had smaller breasts and hips. By the 30s, a softer, more natural look was fashionable, and women had a curvier figure, which led into the 40s, where during World War II, women had a stronger, broader look. After the war came the 1950s, and the ideal figure for a woman was more voluptuous, with larger breasts and hips, and it was a look that was epitomised by Marilyn Monroe. But then in the 60s, icons like Twiggy brought about a whole new ideal, and thin was in. Small hips and a flat stomach were what women seemed to desire in the 70s, and by the 80s, we were aiming for a more athletic look. Then the 90s, extremely thin was back in, and Kate Moss was a prominent icon. Then came the slim, toned look of the 2000s, before the 2010s, where once more that hourglass figures come back. What's interesting is that these trends weren't all born out of vanity. In the war years, for example, rationing contributed to women having a thinner look because there genuinely wasn't much food around to eat. And in the post-war years, when more food was available, women and men ate more and naturally looked more voluptuous. But as time's gone on, I believe that our views on the perfect body are much more to do with vanity. They're based more on things like peer pressure and the media glamorising certain looks, rather than on things like life circumstances and health. The question is, if we're constantly chasing an ever-changing version of perfect, how are we ever supposed to be happy? The reality is, every woman's body is different, it's unique, and that's beautiful. Tall, short, slim hips, curvy, large breasts, small breasts, whatever your body looks like is perfect as it is. And what's more, why should we place so much emphasis on what our body looks like? What about what our body does? Shouldn't we celebrate everything that our body does to keep us safe, healthy, and alive? And by the way, I'm far from perfect when it comes to this subject. I've chased thin, I've chased muscular, I've wanted bigger boobs, bigger bum, I've wanted visible abs. And I'm still trying to find my version of what ideal is, but I'm getting a bit closer. And by appreciating things about my body other than purely the aesthetic aspects of it, I'm learning to love my body a little bit more all the time. So, after that history lesson, my take-home message from this video is, number 1, stop looking outside of yourself and to others to find perfection and happiness. You are already perfect. The size and shape of your body doesn't define you and probably won't make you happy, whatever that is. Number 2, be you. Live the life you want, wear the clothes you love and feel comfortable and confident in. And most of all, be happy. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.